Huh. Why my screen is different today. Good morning. Sorry for the rough start, and I will have to keep paying attention to the waiting room because that typically is not something that I turn on when I set these up. But welcome to the October session of the Disabilities and Conditions of Aging Network, a group that is focused on simply communicating about what's going on in our different aspects of the disability and conditions of aging community, how we can celebrate together, how we can advocate together, how we can partner, and hopefully through that level of communication and coordination, provide better services to those that we are here to support. So I'm Jeremy Warner. If you've not been on before, my organization is Walking Spirit. I provide accessible diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging consulting, training, and support services, also inspirational speaking. And for any person with a disability, I am always happy to have the conversation about how you begin connecting with resources, and am there to support if they need additional coaching along the way. Although my goal is to get folks to the nonprofits that are there to do that. And so that's what Walking Spirit is. That's who I am. And I will kind of take the spotlight later because this past Sunday was the 18th anniversary of my car accident that launched me into the disability realm. And so I want to talk a bit about that, but I want to make certain everybody else gets their opportunity to say hello, talk about what's going on with your organizations first. So, Crystal Hagens, I'm going to start off with you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I am Crystal Hagens, actually Hall now. I just got married at the beginning of this month, but I haven't formally changed my last name just yet. I am with Epilepsy Foundation Indiana. And so as we move into November is Epilepsy Awareness Month. And so for November in the area of Fort Wayne, we're having a Women in Epilepsy brunch. It is free, but we will have some women doctors that are in the epilepsy space talk. We'll have caregivers who can share what it's like to be a caregiver of someone with epilepsy. We'll have Bella Bauer from the Terre Haute area. She will be speaking. She's a teenager who's living with epilepsy and be able to speak about what life is like living with epilepsy. And just having a time where we'll get together and be able to speak and learn more about how you can help with the epilepsy awareness. I will in the chat share a couple of links that if you want to register and be there, you can. And also if you want to know how you can help during the month of November, you can wear purple, that is our color. You can also get seizure first aid trained and become ambassadors. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you for the reminder. Please, everybody utilize the chat. If you would put in your contact info, any information, any links that you have upcoming, anything that you want to be sure is communicated through that chat. I will include the chat from today in the invitation for the next session. And we'll need to talk about the date of that because we're not going to do that on Thanksgiving. So I am going to hand it off to Kristen Ludeker-Siebert.
Good morning. I'm Kristen Ludeker-Siebert. I am the Director of Coordination for A Healthier Hamilton County Systems of Care. So I'm the System of Care Coordinator for Hamilton County. So things we have going on. So right now I have my cat. Things we have going on. On May 1st of 2024. Excuse me. He knows better. On May 1st of 2024, we are going to have a youth panel. And we had one last spring as part of our systems of care. We want to do this, I think, every spring now. And I'm bringing this up this early because we're right now looking for youth panelists. And this year we want to hit the gamut. So last year we focused on high school. This year we want to hit the gamut of kids ages 0 to 17. And our focus is on glimmers and those things that keep our kids mentally strong. We want to have a very strengths-based focus this year, and really looking at pro-social activities, extracurriculars, those types of things that keep our kids mentally strong. So I'm bringing this up in here to kind of put that in your all's brains. If you have any youth that you work with or parents of younger kids that you work with, we definitely want to be diverse in regards to race, ethnicity, religion, gender, disability, ability, those types of things. So I'm bringing it up today. If you have any ideas or anyone you would like to link me up with, I'll put my information in the chat. Other than that, another thing that I am leading here in the county is our Veteran Suicide Prevention Coalition. And we are preparing to launch in regards to the Governor's Challenge. So if Veteran Services or Veteran Suicide Prevention is part of any of the work that you do, and you'd be interested in knowing what we do and what that launch and that implementation is going to look like, and even if you'd like to be involved somehow, please reach out to me as well. So that's what I have today.
Thank you. Got me on my last bite. I had to take my wife to work this morning, and I only had a few minutes to stop and grab some food before the meeting I had prior to this, and I forgot that I had food. And so thank you. All right. Kendall Tilton, would you like to say hello and tell us what's going on at Noble?
If I can get myself actually unmuted. Sometimes skill is, anyway. So yeah, Kendall Tilton. My exciting thing is we've just launched the Moving Forward Career Center. We're downtown. We've got our first public events coming up this month. I'm gonna have my flyer here. Food budgeting. We're doing some life skill classes. Food budgeting will be November 2nd at 2 p.m. We are doing Where Does Your Money Go? Money management systems on November 7th and 22nd. That's a two-part class. Those are together. And then Thursday evenings or afternoons at 4, we'll be doing some open job hunting job skills classes. We'll be doing resume thing. Those will be geared towards adults with intellectual disabilities, and so they'll be at that basic job hunter level. So those will be Thursday afternoons at 4, starting the second week in November. So those are starting. That's my exciting news.
All right, thank you. And that also goes right in line with the fact that October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So we're at the end of the month. Hopefully you've all had opportunities to have an impact on that throughout October, and feel free to talk about that if you would like. I am going to hand it off to Krista Martin, who will maybe expand on that and also talk about some other opportunities.
Oh my Lord. So way to put me on the spot. I was busy typing in the chat box like all the stuff that I want to get out of my brain. So tell me where you want me to pick up on.
Well, if you want, I can come back to you if you want to keep typing.
No, that's okay. I just
Okay.
I missed the hotspot you wanted me to highlight.
So
was it ending related or was it Noble related?
Well, disability employment related.
Yes, ending.
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, that is me then. All things disability employment, ADA, vocational rehabilitation, supported, customized, et cetera, My name is Krista Martin. I'm with Direct Employers Association. We are a nonprofit member association built for and by employers. We represent over 1,000 employers that comprise our association. And we also co-host the U.S. National Labor Exchange with the National Association of State Workforce Agencies. So we work, I work closely with our member companies as well as our community partners, whether that's through VR or community rehabilitation programs and other folks that are involved in the disability employment space. Of course, we do a lot in the veteran and military family space as well for those folks serving there. But I'm going to put some info in the chat to be able to access the Ability site for the National Labor Exchange to search for jobs, internships, apprenticeships, employers, labor market information, and more. Of course, our community partners can contact me for more information on resources and improving positive employment outcomes for those they serve and employer engagement. I think the biggest update is to the Indianapolis Disability Talent Showcase. It's held the third Thursdays of the month from 1 to 2, which has been a hybrid meeting for the past year. We kicked that off last September in our offices. And then Easterseals Crossroads has been so awesome in hosting those this past year. But next month's meeting will be virtual only while we make the move to our new hybrid location in December and into 2024 at accessABILITY's Conference Center. So huge shout out, of course, to Brian Norton and Easterseals, Jeremy for helping facilitate, get that conversation going for Pat and I to get that move happening. Susan and Tammy were wonderful and very supportive in being able to do that. They thought we had moved to the second Thursday in November as well, but it's only for December due to the holidays. So the room is already booked. So we're going to go virtual only next month and then pick up there in December. So super excited about that, to continue connecting employers and providers and job seekers with disabilities are welcome to attend as well. You know, we've seen the outcomes that are coming from this. I was super excited for Indiana's deafblind specialist with Helen Keller's National Center for Deafblind Youth and Adults. She's had 2 placements come from that meeting already, and those connections that are being made. So just stoked. Even the FBI is recruiting with our group. So really, really cool stuff happening with the showcase there. And then accessABILITY is going to have a kind of like a housewarming for their new location stuff with Kesha Walker, who was one of the original members of the showcase in the coalition. She moved on from accessABILITY to a new position, I believe, with IUPUI. And so she's going to come back and share some of her story. It's going to be really cool. So I'll throw that in the chat as well if you're able to come by for their housewarming on next Wednesday, November 1st. So I feel like I hit all the hot spots. Did I miss anything, Jeremy? Oh, no. Wait. And Jeremy's blog. Oh my gosh, your ending blog, which is gaining traction. Why just 1 month for National Disability Employment Awareness Month? So if we're not already on LinkedIn together, let's connect. Check out Jeremy's blog that he partnered with us on with Direct Employers Association. And yeah, now did I hit all the hot spots?
I believe so. Very cool. Thank you for the nod on the blog post. Yeah, that was really,
it's awesome. Thank you.
That was neat to write and neat to because I mean I learned about it as I wrote it. So that was pretty cool. So yes, I also strangely, well, thank you for bringing up accessABILITY's open house. Did you say, I think it's at 6 p.m. Is that right?
I've got it in front of me. Apparently Zoom said my Zoom chat message was too long, and maybe the AI is giving me what for right now. But I believe the program begins at 4:30 and it's from 3 to 7 for networking and office tours.
Very good.
And accessABILITY is your center for independent living. So if you're not familiar with them and what they do, definitely check it out if you've got the chance.
Yes.
Refreshments. More people will come if there's punch and pie, y'all. So
Right. Yeah, and it is their new operation, or new location rather, same operation, new location is really nice. So yeah, please try to go if you can take the time. So next, let's see, everybody moved around on me. Becca Wickham, would you like to say hello?
Yes, hi everybody. I'm Becca. I'm with Immigrant Welcome Center. We're located in Indianapolis. We serve the immigrants in our community, provide resources and some programs. But I serve as the manager of training and resources. Part of my role is I just want to be able to connect with other organizations in the area, the work that you guys are doing. I'm here to support you all, to learn about what you guys are doing and what's happening in the area. So I'd love to be in contact with you. I'll put my email in the chat, but I'm really just here to learn about what you guys are doing and see all the awesome work that's happening in this area. And yeah, I think that's all. Thank you, everyone.
Very good, thank you. Tim Vermand, would you like to say hello?
I'll say hello.
Love the pumpkin.
I have that up because I also have a cat who is scampering around in front of and on everything, and whom I also maintain should know better, but that's not the way it is. About the only thing I had thought of that's going on here lately is my ongoing struggles to get Indigo paratransit to pick me up and take me places on time. So we'll just leave that there.
Well, I mean, that raises a question of if there is an issue with our public transportation. I mean, and we've talked about this before, that back when we did a survey of the city, we determined that the biggest issues were transportation for people with disabilities and parking for people with disabilities. I think
Yes.
Parking was actually the top. But yeah, I mean, so we know, because we tend to think that because we work in the disability realm that we know the answers to these things, but I learned from you. So what is the avenue there for us to advocate, for you to advocate for change if there's issues getting picked up when you're supposed to be picked up?
Well, one new one, and I didn't see anyone from CICOA here today, is they have a new service if you have to go between counties.
Okay.
Which looks like it will work a lot better than the old system, because now we can use Z-Trip the whole way instead of having to coordinate transfers at a location that who knows where it is every day.
Okay.
But the other problem, is that they're just never on time.
Right.
I scheduled something for a pickup for 1 o'clock. They came at 2:30, and that was about the earliest they've ever been lately.
Oh.
Other people on the vehicle are 2 hours late getting to dialysis. I could probably go on and on and on, but
well, and maybe we should, and folks, let me know your thoughts, but maybe we should actually do a in one of the coming months, we should have that be a focus topic, is transportation, and talking about ways, us all knowing what that process is like is important. Us being able to properly advise our consumers if the system is so overwhelmed that you're going to be 2 hours late for a vital health appointment, then, you know, there's got to be a better way for us to do that, or a way for us to advise folks so that they're planning for that dysfunction in the system.
I would encourage participation in the MAC, the Mobility Advisory Committee. They both have public meetings, and I know they are also looking for participants on the board. So, and they are looking for people to bring points of view, and this is a point of view that needs to be represented. So, advocate.
Do you have a contact on the MAC?
Yeah.
I will get that to you. I'll put it in the chat. I don't have it handy, but yes.
That, I think maybe that'd be a good thing
Well,
for us to focus on.
Well, and I saw Crystal come off screen and unmute too, because I was actually, my comment was going to be for you. I actually had somebody recently reach out that's a student at Butler with epilepsy that's just raked over these Uber and Lyft charges, you know, to get back and forth to anywhere, and wanted to know, like, what other alternatives did they have, you know, to get to point A to point B on and off campus for stuff, you know, without having to do taxi, ride share, and you know, it's getting costly, you know, for them. So I didn't know if you had additional resources that I could refer for that student. That would be great.
So it's the ongoing process, you know, how sometimes you plant the seed and you got to wait the year. So about 2 years ago, we started having a conversation with Indigo. Last July, June of this past summer, we got them trained in epilepsy seizure first aid. That was a first step. The second step is to start talking about their paratransit. And I know that they contract out with their paratransit. It's not Indigo, it's their contracted. And so that is another discussion that we have on board to talk about how we can get them to be more timely with pickup and drop-offs, because people, like even some of our clients have called and, you know, to get rides to doctor's appointments, and they lose out on their doctor's appointments because they're late. So it is a conversation that's being had. It's just slow moving.
Another recommendation I have is file those formal complaints. I know it's a pain, but there's a process online to just, it's fairly straightforward and easy. File the complaints. I advocate for a number of people that have the exact same issues. It seems to clear it up, not permanently, but it does. It gets better. They get the complaint, they get better for about a month, and then you got to complain again. But file those formal complaints. It really does seem to make a difference.
Okay. So yeah, Kendall, if you could share that contact with me, maybe I'd like to invite them, and perhaps we could focus on this conversation in November, especially going into a period of time where we need more public transportation in the winter, I think probably. Okay, I want to be sure that we get through everybody. Tim, did you have anything else that you wanted to add today?
I'll leave it there today, see what comes out of this discussion.
Okay, very good. Allison Weimer, would you like to say hello?
Hey, sorry, I am getting coffee together and give me 1 second.
I'm getting good at picking people when it's the wrong time.
No, I accidentally overfilled my coffee mug a little bit too high, and I didn't want to, I was trying to sip it, and it's really hot. So I was going to go outside to, I'm actually making my way into the office. It's a little bit of a crazy morning. So hi, I'm Alzheimer. I'm with the Governor's Council for People with Disabilities. I hope you all can hear me. I'm talking through my earbuds right now.
Yeah,
can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So what we've been doing, we've been kind of starting a bunch of stuff. So we've been working with SAI. We started an agreement with them at the beginning of last year, and so we've been working with them on a lot of stuff. I'm actually managing their grant, and they've been starting to get into the community more, which is really great. We've been doing some stuff with Disability Employment Awareness Month, getting some stories from people, some personal accounts, doing some social media stuff. I'm working on a service animal training. I'm not sure when that's actually going to go out. It's kind of preliminary right now. I've been trying to partner with agency, but I don't think that's going to happen. So we're just going to put it out ourselves. And yeah, it's just been we're just got a lot of preliminary stuff going on. So that's basically like what we're doing right now. But in terms of the transportation stuff, I wanted to touch on that because I had a discussion with the Office of Healthy Opportunities about transportation, because they've been working with transportation, or they've been talking to them. I'm not exactly sure like what their connection is with that, but they asked me if I had any ideas about how to kind of bridge the gap there, since there have been discussions about why people haven't been able to get their rides, or there's like especially out in the rural areas, there's like so many disparities in people trying to get their rides to different places, and there's not access to rides. So I gave them some ideas for that, but I'm not exactly sure if they followed through, but that was something that they were working on. So I wasn't sure if you were aware of that, but
Not at all. And so if we're gonna look at maybe trying to focus on this conversation in November, if you would be willing to share contact info with them, just so I could invite them to be part of that conversation.
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been going through like a bunch of stuff. Like they had they have a new director, so I'm not exactly sure where they're at. I haven't met with them for a couple of meetings because they've been really busy, but we'll definitely share with them and, invite them.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I think that that's a really super important thing to bring up, and I would love to share it at least with my agency and talk to them about it and see what we can do from our end, because I do think that it's something that a lot of people are unaware of. We don't have a transportation contract. We actually termed our contract this year with transportation, but I do think that it's something that we need to talk about alternatives, or ways that we could find workarounds to getting people to their appointments on time. And I think that at least as a person with a disability, I understand the stigma of being late to an appointment. It's especially, I think that in the medical world, just having a disability when you show up, unfortunately there is this in the doctor's office world, you get treated a different way, and especially when you're late, it kind of it's like a cloud, and then it hovers over you every time you show up again. So anytime you're late, if you're late again, or if you're even a minute late again, it's like it's on your record or whatever, and they will hold it over you. And if you're part of a system, it's everybody in that system knows that you're the late person. So it can cost you in other doctors' offices. So it can be a real problem. And cost you what am I trying to say?
Well, it affects your own self-esteem and whatnot. That's
well,
not
yeah,
quite
but
the right way to put it, but yeah.
I'm trying to say I'm sorry, I'm having an aphasia moment. But
It's okay.
It costs you like relationships. That's the word I was trying to say, with doctors, and so that can be a real problem, and cause a lot of anxiety. So I think it would be worth it to look into that. So yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I'll digress from that because I could go on all day. But I will move on.
Okay. Thank you. I think, that's a great conversation that we should also look at having and inviting the right people to participate in that conversation about the ableist nature of those kinds of policies and what that does to emotional and mental health for people who are already living with a disability and the additional challenges that come with those. So,
yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So, thank you. All right, John Knight, would you like to say hello?
Hey, Jeremy, Tim
Yeah.
had his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Tim. Yeah, what's up?
I just wanted to say, as part of that, a lot of people think these things don't really happen to those of us who live with disabilities. This came up last week. A friend of mine was talking about how she was out at a park with her visibly disabled daughter, and somebody just came up randomly out of the blue and said, "I need to pray for your daughter so she'll be healed," and started going over and putting her hands on her and all that, and she chased the person away. But sometimes when I say this, people seem to think we're not telling the truth. And the other thing was, Allison mentioned getting labeled. This one place I go to now calls me to ask me if I'm really going to show up.
Yeah. So I would totally agree. These are aspects of living with a disability that get completely ignored by the community a lot. Especially by the broader community. Krista, you can
Hey,
say
Jeremy.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I also think contact your legislators, contact your representatives on the local, county, state, federal levels. They need faces, not cases. They need to hear your stories. They don't know what's going on ground zero. They are so disconnected, and that is not to say whatever, but they're doing other things, and they don't know what's going on with their constituency a lot of the time when these kind of real life issues are impacting them. And again, I put in the chat, this can be potentially life-threatening for folks.
Yes.
And I have my own personal experience in this realm, and I feel very strongly about it, and I highly empathize with folks. But this is definitely an advocacy issue. And I would even consider like, Indiana Rehabilitation Association, Indiana APSI, other, nonprofit organizations that take up these kind of issues. I did have a quick question for Allison, since we've got GCPD here today, is the Indianapolis Disability Talent Showcase is a baby of the Work to Include Coalition out of Indianapolis. And it was my understanding that the Work to Include efforts were no longer being funded by GCPD, and that these projects throughout the state are all, basically left to their own devices to sink or swim without, that funding that they had to be able to kick off the ground to begin with, and didn't know if anything was being discussed in your office as far as revitalizing the funding towards this effort, because we're showing that it's working and people are going to work, and these connections are being made all throughout the state. And so just want to put that on the radar if it's not already. Shamelessly, it's one of shamelessness and the lack of filter are my superpowers, Allison. So
I think what we did was we took a look at the grants that we were giving out. We termed a lot of the grants because they had been carried on for way too long. We needed to have grants that were shorter, and that we needed to make sure that they were benefiting, because GCPD is strictly for people with developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities. So we needed to make sure that that was benefiting our community members. So people are welcome to, when we put out for grants, they are welcome to apply. We're going to be putting out more grants in the near future. I know that my executive director, Kate, is working on RFPs as we speak. And so we're going to be putting out a bunch of grants shortly. We just needed to term a bunch of long-term grants that have been, some of them have been going on for like 20 years that were before our time, but they really needed to be termed in order for us to be able to get some new things going, and then we can discuss different things in the future, and also we need to make sure that they were related to the DD Act. Otherwise we weren't following our own agency.
Well, and you know what? I appreciate you so much, and I'm so glad I asked that, because this is the first time in any conversation in close to 2 years that anybody said that focus was specific to IDDD. And I've worked in other grant-funded projects similar to this in other states that were by the DD councils being funded. And so that makes a huge difference in my perspective of what that focus needs to be able to apply for those grants effectively and make sure that we're effectively, focused in, more in the customized supported employment space. Of course, direct placement comes into that too, but that completely changes how we need to approach that in order to be able to get that funding for certain groups like the IDTS. So thank you so much.
Oh, sure, absolutely. And I'm, obviously I've only been at this agency for a year, but I apologize for the miscommunication in the past. But now that we've got an amazing team. Kate's hired the best of the best of the best. We're a very small agency, but we are amazing, and we've turned this agency around in a year, and we are, as I like to say, we're kicking butt. And I think that we're really going to make it go places. So, if you have any questions, feel free to email me or Kate. So,
okay.
Or
Awesome.
anybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we've been working in project search and other things, and we've had successful placements with our employer members through that. in that population. So I will leave it back over to Jeremy. I apologize, but
No,
had to
that's
take
fine.
advantage of Allison's amazing presence at the meeting today.
That's the point of this
Thank you.
meeting is to give folks an opportunity to learn more from one another, including about the different organizations. That was the first time that I had heard that as well. So
I graduated from partners in policymaking, I think 7 years ago. And back then it used to be half parents with disabilities and half adults with disabilities, but it wasn't specific to IDD. So I don't know if maybe they should not have been doing that, or if there was some need for a change, but it did used to include more folks than those with IDD. So I think
Yeah.
that confused a lot of folks about exactly what they were for. And I think the name is maybe a little confusing too.
We're going to be doing a name change.
Completely is.
I heard you might be doing that, yeah.
Yeah, we need to get permission. It's a whole thing, bureaucracy.
Yes.
So yeah, but yeah, it is the DDX states that we need to be strictly supporting people with IDD.
okay, so
And I understand that, and my kid has IDD, so I would have been eligible for the program no matter what criteria they use. But it is kind of a shame. We learned so much about so many other disabilities because disability is so intersectional from all the folks who are in my group, including the adults with disabilities who did not have IDD. So that kind of stinks from that program angle. But of course, you have to do what the feds say to get your money.
yeah. So I want to be sure that I'm not mistaking something here. So is it just that the programming that the GCPD is doing is now strictly for IDD, or is the Governor's Council for People with Disabilities no longer looking at all people with disabilities?
Yeah, the Governor's Council for People with Disabilities is strictly for people with developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities. That is the programming, the funding. We will lose our federal funding and our state funding if we are doing anything with global disabilities. So we have to be very specific about our community members need to be people with IDD, BD.
So
Jeremy, if you're familiar, they have it's a national system, state to state. You're the first state that I've ever seen didn't have like developmental, in your title. That's why it's very, like Courtney said, it's very you think it's all people with disabilities, not the BD Council. But it's an entire network. Every state has one. As far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but
yes, that's true.
Yeah, that is the focus, and all activities have to be put towards, work, play, education, living in the community. Everything has to be going to the IDD, population, supporting them and their families. And
yeah, I meet with the National Council monthly. And those are like all the states of the developmental disabilities councils. But we actually had one of our focuses this year, and this is why we haven't been doing much else, is to go out into the community and train people on what we actually do. And we called it Council and Community. And it was to train people on the DD Act and what the council does. And it was to talk to people about that we focus on people with developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities. Unfortunately,
when did the focus change? Because I know, like, years ago when I was serving on the Mayor's Advisory Council on Disability here, the Governor's Council was not that restricted in its focus. It was absolutely for all people with disabilities to have a representation basically within the governor's office.
It's, well, it should have always been for DDID. I think that somewhere the waters got muddied, but the focus got repurposed, or I don't know, I can't think of the word, but it got restructured
That's fine.
when we had I don't know how to describe it, when we had a executive director change.
So when Christine Dahlberg left.
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting.
They were essentially out of compliance, from what I
Okay.
understand.
Yes.
Well, and so very good. Thank you. That without us getting into the muddy waters there, that I appreciate the info. So, and the clarification. I had asked Jonda if she wanted to say hello, and she posted a message in the chat that her camera's malfunctioning, but she is the family services coordinator with Noble, and happy to have you on with us, Jonda. Courtney, you have anything you want to share today?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, so yes, I'm Courtney. I work for Fuse. We are a small nonprofit based out of Greenfield. I'm a mom to a kiddo with IDD. He is now 11. We have some things going on for all the different groups of folks we serve. So this Saturday is a trunk or treat and a Monster Mash dance. So we have a trunk or treat for our little ones, or little at heart, and then a dance for the older teens and young adults we also serve. And then a week from Saturday, on Saturday, November the 4th, we have Inspiring Abilities Expo, a disability resource fair on the south side of Indy at Perry Meridian High School. That's free for attendees. We'll have a speaker from 9 to 10, and then an exhibit hall open from 10 to 1. And everyone's welcome to come and stop and say hi. All
right. Thank you. All right. Please make certain that info's in the chat. I'm going to take the last 7 minutes. If you guys were on last year, we were actually, again, if it wasn't the actual anniversary of the accident, it was within days of it. But I lost both of my legs in a car accident 18 years ago. While commuting home to Indianapolis from DePaul University, where I was managing the hotel on their campus, a 16-year-old turned left in front of me. And if you want to hear the whole, well, not the whole story, but it was ironic. I've not been that active in my church for, well, really since COVID. But my wife and I still attend the Methodist church where we got married. And the pastor asked me if I would speak at Health and Healing Sunday, which was this past Sunday. And it being the 18th anniversary of the accident, I felt like I could not say no. Although typically I prefer to keep that day to myself, and I prefer to isolate and to spend time thinking about, the past 18 years, the past year, what's coming. Very isolated and contemplative time. It was a very uncomfortable thing to decide to go and get up on the pulpit at our church. And honestly, I'm happy to have the spiritual conversation anytime anybody wants to have it. But what I experienced during my 6 weeks in that medically induced coma, especially what I experienced in what I believe was the moments before I began to wake up, to really wake up, changed my spiritual perspective dramatically. And so if you want to hear any of that, it actually was recorded. You can see the actual service, the entire service, on North Church Indy's YouTube channel. That is, and it's interesting because the pastor, without us even really talking about what I was going to say, and I never think about what I'm going to say. I just let my mouth open, and what comes out is what the audience gets. But so, I mean, I think about it, but I don't write it down. And so without us discussing that at all, he kind of planned a service that included some imagery. The car accident was what sparked the fire. The fire is what caused the loss of my legs. Honestly, the fire was caused by a defect in the engine. There's all sorts of stuff that we can talk about there. But so if you're interested in that, you could watch the entire service there. You can just see my 12 minutes or so of it, where I'm talking on my Facebook channel, on the Walking Spirit Facebook page, and on LinkedIn. I have not had a chance to figure out whatever the glitch is that's keeping me from getting that video on to the Walking Spirit website or onto my blog. We'll get that figured out. But it's always interesting to me that the things that come up around this time. And yesterday, I got a message from Carly from the ARC, who was planning to be on today, but she couldn't join due to something that took place, happened right before the meeting began. She sent me a message that she wasn't going to be able to be on, but she was asking me about what somebody who had come to them, who is a person who's paralyzed, who wants an exoskeleton so that he can walk, what the options are when insurance says no. And to be honest, so when my accident happened, I was employed by a company called Sodexo. I was at a point, actually, had only worked for them for about 5.5 months. I couldn't even claim FMLA. And actually, most of my benefits, if I had not been in the management position I was in, my benefits wouldn't have kicked in yet. So I was lucky. I was very, very lucky that I was in that situation. I was unlucky that when I filled out those benefits, I, at the age of 30, looked at it and thought, I only need to put the bare minimum out of my check into my accidental death and dismemberment policy. So for those of you who work in benefits or who have those benefits, take a look at them, because literally I filled that paperwork out the month before this car accident happened. I contributed maybe $4 to that policy, and I got $30,000 because of the car accident. Now that was all eaten up by medical bills and the expenses to make the modifications we needed to make, but it was there. The difference, though, is that if I had put the maximum in, which was like $3 per paycheck, I would have gotten $300,000 instead of 30. So look at your benefits. But where I was going with that, though, was that every prosthetic leg that I had prescribed to me, from the very first one that was a knee that would lock in place and I would hop around on one leg, to the microprocessor controlled legs that I had when I was working with Blue Cross Blue Shield as my insurance company, every single prosthetic leg was denied. And I had to get on the phone every single time and call the insurance company and say, this is medically necessary. And then when they fought that with the microprocessor controlled knees, then when I called and said, this is medically necessary, the response wasn't, oh, Mr. Warner, we made a mistake. It was no, this has been denied because it's not medically necessary. And so then we had to appeal that. And that was how I found out my doctor didn't include, or my prosthetist rather, did not include the letter of medical necessity with the original claim. So I had to get that to them. Then I had to fight a denial that they were luxury items. And the way that we fought that denial was with the fact that the ADA recognizes the ability to walk or ambulate as a major life activity. So assistive technology that allows you to do that effectively is not a luxury item. And then the third denial was that they were not experimental technology. And the pair of legs that I had been prescribed and already walking on at that point for 2 years, they were approved by the FDA for use in the United States before they were ever prescribed to me. So they did not meet the medical dictionary's definition of experimental. And that was how we finally got Blue Cross Blue Shield to pay the claim. That experience is something that those systems have set up so that we get frustrated and give up, and we can't do that. And so my communication to Carly was that my first questions would be, how expensive are these things and this exoskeleton, and what are the denials being given? And then have they used all of the appeals? And then beyond that, have they looked at the nonprofits that are out there to help with assistive technology? Accessibility, I'm sure, does not necessarily have the money available to pay for this person's exoskeleton, but they are there to help find those resources. So, and then as I progressed from those legs to the power knees, in that situation, I was with Humana, no longer with Blue Cross Blue Shield. They gave prior authorization for what Humana would cover, but there was no Medicaid code. So what they would cover was nowhere near what typically would be covered on that level of assistive technology. I was the 5th person in the United States to use legs with a bilateral pair of legs with an artificial intelligence. And so I understood then that I needed to find other funding, and so relied on my community, and I did a GoFundMe campaign to raise the difference between what Humana would cover and what I needed to cover, so that my prosthetist could afford to actually purchase the legs from the manufacturer. And these things are super, super expensive. So in fact, my current pair of legs are worth way more than my car. So you know, and Voc Rehab honestly helped me get those, because I'm going through the process of getting their support behind Walking Spirit. And so that's another avenue of funding to explore, is that if a person with a disability wants to return to work and they need assistive technology that's going to make them functional in that job, in those goals, our state vocational rehabilitation agency is a huge resource for that. So, I've taken you 3 minutes beyond our time. I appreciate everybody joining us today. Thank you so much. And next month, we probably will go a week earlier so that we don't run into Thanksgiving. So I'll send that invite out within the next few days or very early next week. So thank you all. Any questions before we go? Anybody? I can stay on for a few minutes if anybody wants to have any lingering conversation.
I want to say thank you, Jeremy. Thank you for leading this group for the past year. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being a partner and a friend. I just appreciate you so much. And the Central Indiana area is better for having you as an advocate here. So I put links to the blog and your video there in the chat, along with the first annual Richmond Disability Resource Fair that's taking place next Saturday. Awesome. With Connections Case Management hosting as well. So just one more resource for the IDDD community, actually, because its focus is on for families and people with intellectual and developmental disabilities for that resource fair. So put that one in your back pocket, Allison. Just saying.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Krista. Honestly, that people ask me if I would change it, if I could go back in time, take 40 instead of the county road that I was on. And the answer is no. I mean, I would love to look through a wormhole to a parallel universe and see what happened in that other guy's life who didn't go that route or whatever, because I do very much believe that such universes exist. but the things that have taken place in my life in the last 18 years, including meeting my wife, becoming a stepfather to her children, meeting all of you, getting to put this network together, and hopefully developing Walking Spirit to a point where it's sustainable and makes a difference in the community. I would not take that away. So yeah, thank you very much for all of you being here and the support you've given me by continuing to come back to this network once a month, or at least once every couple months. So thank you all. All right. Have a good month.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Are we having a stare down? Okay.